Hello, everyone. Welcome to the eighth episode of Psych Talks with Teachers, and I'm your host, Ms. Basha, Director at iCharts and iCharts Support Foundation. And today we have with us Dr. Deepti Purani to talk about forensic psychology. And I would quickly like to introduce our organization, which is dedicated to um, behavioral, emotional, mental growth of individuals for individuals from all areas of the society through education, intervention, and guidance. Our institution is based on a solid value system of quality and philosophy of positive psychology, where we all believe that therapy is not about focusing on the weaknesses, it is also about helping people find and apply their strengths. Before we begin, I would also like to mention our MHP challenge, which is about to visit a mental health practitioner. So it is all about initiative that is started by the mental health practitioner that please visit a mental health practitioner, as soon as possible, or do not delay in the process whenever you feel that there is a feeling of emotional or mental discomfort. I would also like to request all of you who's watching today's episode to, go ahead and share this with your friends and family so that you can benefit out of it, and also start a watch party so that it can reach to as many people as possible. So, a warm welcome to you, Deepti ma'am. A quick introduction about her. She is assistant professor at Amity University of Behavioral Science, Mumbai, and she has experience of in the field of forensic psychology for almost more than 2 decades. She's done her master's in psychology and diploma in counseling and psychotherapy. She's done her PhD in psychology in the topic related to brain electrical oscillation signature profiling from the University of Mumbai. She is an associate member of the British and the European Polygraph Association. She's presented around 27 research papers to her credit and published and presented at national and international conferences. And she's reported more than 1,000 cases related to forensic psychology evaluation. Now that's something in itself. And once again, a warm welcome, Deepti ma'am. Welcome to Psych Talks with teachers, and we are going to talk about forensic psychology as a subject, as a stream. So please, you can start. Maybe you want to give a little more. You want to add from your end as your introduction, or we can start with the question and answer.
No, we can start with.
Okay, lovely. Lovely. So can you, ma'am, first brief us about what is all forensic psychology all about?
Okay, now to talk about forensic psychology, actually it's a very broad field as such. Now, if we look at forensic psychology, it is basically it's derived from the word forensic. Now, forensics meant forum, the place where trials were conducted in Roman times. Okay. So in present times, forensic refers to the relationship between the legal systems on one hand and the professional fields such as psychiatry, medicine, pathology, chemistry, anthropology, and psychology on the other hand. So now when we look at forensic psychology, basically whenever we try to apply human behavior to the legal systems, that would come under the aspects of forensic psychology. So here, if we are looking at what all work comes under forensic psychology, then forensic psychology knowledge is used in various forms. Like basically, it can help in consultation with attorneys, analyzing offender's mind, then understanding the modus operandi or practice within civil arena. We can also important fields of eyewitness testimony, then forensic psychologists work for jury selection, malingering, competency to stand trial, criminal responsibility, interviewing techniques like we use psychological interviews in investigation, juvenile delinquency, criminal rehabilitation, as well as there are many other psychological tools as well, which are used in forensic science lab that aids the investigation process. So if you look at the overall picture in itself, like forensic psychology is a very, very broad field as well.
I am sure you've touched upon what exactly forensic psychology is and what are the different areas in which it has been used. But as a subject, why is it important, do you think it is for the students to learn?
Okay. If I'm looking at it from very general perspective, okay, crime is something that impacts each and every one of us, either
Right.
directly or indirectly. When we are talking about crime, it is happening with someone. So there is ultimately either a place, a location which is involved, or a person on who is involved in that crime. But
Mm-hmm.
who's committing that offense? Ultimately, it's a human being who's conducting an offense, which means it's the brain that is involved in the entire process. So when we look at brain, obviously it has connection with psychology and with human behavior, and that itself makes forensic psychology a very important subject. So in fact, that's because if we look at overall field of forensics, okay, forensic psychology is the only field where we are directly getting a chance to interact with the person who may have been suspected of having committed an offense, or who may have been accused, or even in that matter, witnesses or victims. So overall, we have an individual with whom we can interact, talk, try to understand in better manner, and in a way give investigation a completely new insight. Also, using different psychological tools, we can actually get information directly from that individual, and I mean, we are ultimately looking at it from the human perspective.
Absolutely. So it really makes sense what you're saying about that. It's at last we're talking about the brain and the mind that one uses, and that's how the forensic entire field is all about understanding and analyzing and finding out. So, ma'am, what would be the challenges that the students face as per your, wider experience of working with them or teaching them for more than 2 decades? मतलब क्या challenges आते हैं मैम उनको?
Okay, actually, that question should be asked to the students, because we are teaching. Ultimately, it's they who are facing and they have to learn it.
हाँ आप
But
अपने
from
अपने
the
end से बता
interaction,
दीजिए. Yeah, from your
from the
interaction, your
interaction or the
understanding.
feedback, what I can just give some insights into it.
Sure.
Okay, this is my perspective, as well as the from the feedback that I have got. Now, when we talk about forensic psychology, it's not just important that we only learn forensic psychology. The field of
Mhm.
psychology itself has we have to look at the interdisciplinary field as well. So when
Mhm.
we have to study forensic psychology, we also have to have a basic understanding, or
Mhm.
about what forensic sciences is, okay,
Mhm.
or how sciences are involved in the criminal investigation. So you need to have an idea about forensic science. So obviously that becomes a little bit challenging, because you have to move from your field of psychology and you need to have knowledge, and you have to keep on reading about all the other fields as well. Like forensic science is one field. At the same time, you have to have a basic understanding of the legal system, how the laws works. Now, if we are studying in India, or if we are planning to practice in India, we need to be well acquainted with the legal aspect in Indian setup. But if you
Right.
plan to, you have completed your studies here and you want to go abroad, now you need to have a better understanding of the legal system that works there. So you have to
Right.
keep on, continuously challenging yourself, updating your knowledge. That I feel could become a challenge. Another aspect, it is also important to understand the ethical guidelines that are given by the National Human Rights Commission, or even by the American Psychological Association for practicing practitioners of forensic psychology. So as a student, you need to remember all these guidelines and all. So that I feel could become a challenge. Also, the guidelines that are applicable to the field of forensic psychology somewhere are different from the other fields of psychology. So you need to understand that difference between, the guidelines, like if we are talking about confidentiality, okay, which is a very important aspect in our regular counseling setup and all. But when the same confidentiality we are using with some of our clients in a forensic setup, we also have to look at the legal aspect, or what is that person's role into that entire crime scene, and how, I mean, what information can be kept confidential, what information needs to be informed to the court. So all those things have to be understood and learned by the students, which I feel could become a challenge. And now, obviously, when I spoke about various, you know, concepts or theoretical aspects of forensic psychology, as such, it's a very broad field. So, as well as a very theoretical and a technical field. So, keeping yourself learning lot of those theories, and when we talk about forensic, we are ultimately talking about legal system. So then you can't change, or you can't all the time write in your own words. You have to write it in the words that are expected by the course, or by the by the system itself. So I mean, that becomes, I think, could be a challenge. Also, to understand at times difference between what is a normal witness, what is a eyewitness, okay, all these are quite different aspects. Both are again involved into the same field of forensic psychology itself, but then there is a lot of difference between a normal witness as well as an expert witness. So how the opinions matter, under what sections does the opinions of expert witness in the field of psychology would be taken. So I feel these could be some of the challenges that students may be facing in learning that,
learning
because
the
it's
subject.
very theoretical.
Learning the
Yes, it's
subject.
very learning the subject, because you have to learn the entire theoretical aspect. So here there is less chance of you understand and make it. When you write, you have to write it in those exact words and terminology.
Wow. Okay. That looks tough actually. I'm not sure whether it's tough or not. Anyway, ma'am. So, ma'am, so we understood what are the challenges that they face during learning the subject. What would be the challenges, or what kind of challenges they might be facing it, uh, you know, for learning for the examination, or what would be the
Okay.
tips that you would give?
You see, for examination tips, like I said, the most important tip, okay, which I would like to give students is basically we keep lot of time, we keep most of the time to study a particular subject as last minute study. So I feel that is in itself is important, because if you understand that when you have to learn so much of terminologies, or when you have to learn guidelines, you have to understand the various concepts, you can't have last minute study, that won't work. Okay, so ultimately you have to start studying the subject at least from the beginning itself. So you need to give enough time before exam, so at least 1 or 2 months of time to properly learn the subject, especially just from your exam point of view. Most importantly, I mean, you should not get anxious when you are writing. The moment you get anxious, you're going to mix up all the terminologies here and there. So, be very clear. And I mean, at least what I used to follow, or I used to learn, was I used to make my own notes in form of short answers, which I can anytime enhance it, or write it in more details. But at least those pointers, writing the pointers, sometimes give us lots of clues how we can write our papers and how we can go about. So these are some of the tips that I mean could work for the exam.
And ma'am, how while you teach forensic psychology, make it more interesting topic for students to stay glued to the subject, and वो जितना भी minutes का lecture होता है उसमें बैठे रहें और ध्यान दें, और how do you take their attention
Uh,
for the subject?
See, most importantly, like I said, when we look at forensic, it's very interesting subject. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so when we look at crime itself, each and every crime is a unique case. No two
Okay.
crimes are going to be similar. At least the victim changes. So there is a uniqueness in each and every case. So similarly, to make my lectures more interesting, I again try to use all these unique aspects in each and every lecture. I try. I don't know. Ultimately, it's the students who can, really say whether it's interesting or it's not interesting. But yes, what I feel is important is including lot of practical aspects. So when you teach theory, you need to also talk to them, or you need to give them practical cases in which how in this particular case is this theoretical concept being applied.
Right.
So uh, and if we look at media, or you look at TV programs, you ultimately keep on getting lots of new cases each and every day. Even a program like Crime Patrol can give you a lot of insights into different cases that are happening. So I mean, the same cases, we can look at from the psychological viewpoint, from the behaviors of the individuals who are involved. So at times I take cases from my own experience also. Like I stated, like I have done many cases, or I have was involved in various cases from forensic psychological viewpoint. So I take a lot of cases because I have a better knowledge on those cases than on some cases which I don't know. So I use those cases to make it practical, more practical oriented. Uh, at times giving assignments, because ultimately learning is going to be, you just give them a task and ask them to learn, it's going to be boring. So ultimately giving assignments wherein how can you apply these concepts, the theoretical concepts, to the real life application. So creating assignments from that perspective. um, Watching good movies, I mean, if we look at
Good
crimes,
crime
there are
movie.
amazing, yes, good crime movies. In fact, good web series also, which are
Good web
coming
series,
in. So
yes,
in fact, most
absolutely.
of the
Yeah.
web series are using a lot
Uh,
of forensic
Forensic
psychological
psychology.
concepts. And
Absolutely.
yes, so using those movies, and basically it's visual replications, or um, role plays, investigations, stimulation. So actually, because of lockdown, obviously in past few months we have not been able to do these things. But then actually creating crime scenes, okay? So not necessary every time that we have to take a case. So we can even create some
Create one
fictional cases,
hypothetical. Yeah.
Yes. So use those cases, and then make the students so have group discussions, group presentations. So all those things are done to make the subject interesting. Otherwise, it's obviously I'll keep talking and they are going to listen, they are going to fall asleep.
Right. So that's a good way. At least, ma'am, web series से कुछ तो फायदा हम उठाया उसका कि at least we can use it to our knowledge of application for people, especially who are learning psychology and especially forensic psychology. So I think that's a good catch, that extra understanding knowledge that you're getting through, well, watching television also, and you're learning also in the process.
Yeah. So then every
Right?
time you watch a movie, you can do an assignment of analyzing the
Yeah,
behaviors of all the characters in
absolutely,
the movie.
absolutely. The after movie discussion can be the brainstorming part of it. Yeah, it does help. So,
Mm.
ma'am, how do you see, what do you see, what are the different techniques that are used in forensic psychology in Indian laboratory than what it is used in the other countries? Are there any differences, or we work at the same level?
No, actually, there is quite some difference when we talk about, Indian setup, or the work that is done in Indian forensic labs and in the other forensic labs abroad. Mainly
Mm-hmm.
when we are looking at Indian context, we are using quite some techniques over here. Like we use polygraph, okay? We go for
Mm-hmm.
psychological profiling, polygraph, narcoanalysis, brain electrical oscillation signature profiling, um, layered voice analysis. Uh, then nowadays we are also into, forensic statement analysis and all is also being done by quite many labs are doing it. So this is the kind of work that is mainly being done in most of the psychology departments in forensic science laboratories in India.
Okay. And ma'am, from that, I have two questions for you. About you talked about the forensic analysis of the statement. Can you
Forensic
do
statement analysis.
forensic statement? Yeah.
Actually, yes, actually, it's a new technique which has come up. Okay,
Uh-huh.
basically in forensic statement analysis, you analyze the statements that have been given by the uh, in this matter, it could be even witness, or it could be even offenders or offenders, perpetrators, or um, witnesses, victims, and complainants. So you basically get statements from that. All these statements are analyzed using this forensic statement analysis technique. So there are obviously a lot of technicalities in it in terms of the words being used, how do you understand the language, and how is a normal statement being read. So that is the kind of technique. It's a very new technique. So even I mean, I've just read about it. I have not personally done that to
Sure.
give you all a
No issues at all. At least we got to know there's something new, and then we can find out about it. Also, since you have also done one the paper on the brain oscillation research, yeah,
right brain
that is also
electrical
one of the
oscillation
techniques.
signature.
Yeah, that's something that is being also
Yeah.
used. So can you tell us what is it about? मतलब आपका तो
Okay.
research भी था वो हाँ.
Right. Brain electrical oscillation signature profiling. In fact, it is a technique which has been developed by our Indian neuropsychologist, Professor C.R. Mukundan, who was the former head of the HOD of NIMHANS, and he was also the emeritus professor and director of Gujarat Forensic Science University. So, in fact, this
Mm-hmm.
is the technique that was developed by him and made by him. Now, basically, what is done, this technique uses the electroencephalogram. Okay, electroencephalogram is used to measure the electrical signals in the brain which are related to the memory of the person. Now, it is
Mm-hmm.
basically based on the experiential knowledge and the conceptual knowledge. Now, when we
Mm-hmm.
talk about memory, a person is going to have memory pertaining to an experience, the autobiographical memory of the experience, only when he or she participates in that event. So if a person does not participate in an event, obviously that signature, that memory is not going to be in the brain of that particular person. Now, when we conduct the brain electrical oscillation signature profiling, what we do is we recreate the entire crime scene. The entire crime scene is recreated in form of probes. Now, these probes are smaller statements, but they have to be in a sequential order. In fact, there are four types of probes that I use. Like we have neutral probes, control probes, then the target A probes and target B probes. So when we talk about neutral probes are very general probes like the rising sun or red rose. These are neutral probes, so it has no direct connection to the actual case in concern. Now, when we go to control probes, when we talk about probes are designed based on the autobiographical information, um, which is somewhere given by the investigating officer as well as by uh, the person whom we are interviewing, like the subject or the suspect who's brought in front of us. So,
Mm-hmm.
on the basis of his personal history and his autobiographical history, we prepare control probes. Control probes are those probes which are not in question, like they are not basically questioned. The subject is already, he has himself given his history, so that is used as a baseline. Then we have target A probes. Target A probes are basically, probes which are created based on the actual crime scene. So depending from the information that we get from the investigating officer, then the information that we get from the crime scene. So we have done a proper analysis of, like I said, we recreate the crime scene. So you have investigated the crime scene. So after recreating, so on the basis of that actual information on how or in what way the crime has happened, so on the basis of that, we would actually recreate the entire target A probe, and target B probes are is the subject's version or the suspect's version, who does not accept, that yes, I had done this offense. He would give some information like when this crime happened, I was in some other place and all. So he would give you a detailed account about what he was doing at that time. So you would also include that. Then all these probes together are feeded into the system, like we call it as NSS neurosignature system and all. And then the subject has to sit in a chair. Now this is a room wherein the subject sits alone. Okay, so there is a one-way mirror. So there is another room in which the forensic psychologist is sitting, and he is monitoring the signals, basically the electrical signals in the brain. Electro cap is attached to the brain, which has around 32 signals, and each of these probes, so right from neutral to control to target A, target B, all these probes are presented to the subject one by one, and the activation in the basically electrical activation in the brain is monitored in this system. Now, if the person is involved in the crime, obviously he cannot forget the event. Okay, so crime is not something like you just do it and you forget it. Obviously, that memory is going to stay in the brain of the perpetrator, and it's a automatic like when you are given cues. So why we are using all these probes, right from start, is basically you are cueing them. So when these cues are presented in form of the probes, obviously, if the memory is present in the brain of the perpetrator, it would be in in the form of various waves, and would give us it would come like the experiential knowledge is seen for these probes. Now, also when we are analyzing, we don't analyze probes in isolated manner. We look at experiential knowledge in a sequential manner, and a thorough analysis and is done on the basis of these reports and this activation to come to a conclusion that is this person involved in the crime, or does this person has an experience of um, committing an offense. So that's how it's a basically, actually there's a lot of technicalities in it,
I'm
but
sure,
I've
ma'am.
just
Yes,
tried to
yes.
put it in a simple manner how it is.
Ma'am, that was very well put across. I think for a general layperson as well as for the students also, it's a very simple way to understand the topic that we're talking about. Also, since we were talking about how it is done, as you've told us how it is done, or how or what techniques are used in Indian scenario, are you can you help us to throw some light on how abroad it is used, how it is different abroad, if you have any idea about it, about how they are working on it in a
Um,
forensic psychology aspect.
Uh, you see, actually, there are other areas like what I have been speaking about is from the forensic science laboratory. But when we look at a rehabilitation novel here, it is
Mm-hmm.
done more in presence, or more in presence and all. Now, abroad, as such, I have not uh, been abroad, so I don't have much idea about what are the courses. But yes, like there is lot of emphasis on clinical forensic psychology, wherein we were talking about malingering or competency to stand trial. Then there are lots of forensic assessment tools which are used to, assess the criminal responsibility. So when a crime was performed, okay, when the person was involved in a crime, was he in the is he capable, or was he is he capable of taking the responsibility of that crime? So what was his state of mind and all? So there are ample of these forensic assessment tools as well, which are used. Then there is lot of emphasis on psychological interviewing techniques, which are in fact especially in UK and all, where they use lot of investigating interviewing techniques, psychological investigating interviewing techniques. So that those are the things which I feel could be emphasized. I mean, these are
Sure.
just some of the areas. And there's ample of work also on juvenile, even in India, juvenile delinquency, and even in abroad, there's ample of work that forensic psychologists do in juvenile offenses, cases of juvenile offenders, and a lot of
Absolutely.
work from rehabilitation point of view.
Okay.
Especially abroad, there's a lot of therapeutic interventions which also happen.
Lovely. Ma'am, let's quickly check on Facebook. We have people who are joined us and they're watching us. And we do have a few questions. I'm going to put it across to you. And we can say a quick hi to everybody. Hi, everyone who's joined us. Thank you for
Okay,
joining.
hi.
And feel free to ask any questions that you have, anything related to forensic psychology. And we have a person with eminent amount of understanding and knowledge of the subject. And take your chance. So there's a question from Sanjana asking, how is confidentiality different in forensic psychology?
Um, See, as such, I'm not saying that it is different, okay?
Mhm.
But yes, when you are um, interviewing or when you are conducting an intake interview of the person, or even when
Mhm.
you are using your doing a psychological interview and all, there is a
Mhm.
possibility that the person can give you some information, not of this crime in concern, but of some another crime, okay? Now, in such cases, though this is a information that is being shared as a very confidential information that the subject has shared with you, but again you
Right.
need to think it from the legal point of view, and you need to, but what we do is we inform the subject, or we inform the client that ultimately this information we will have to inform the investigating officer. So
Right.
you um, so that information cannot be kept confidential. Secondly,
Mhm.
most of the times when we are getting cases, the cases are referred by the courts. So when a
Mhm.
case is referred by a court, the report has to be given to the court, because otherwise it can become, um, contempt of court. So you can't
Right.
hide any information pertaining to crime. Yes,
Right.
in some cases where we can keep information confidential is when it is not related to this particular crime scene or any crime in general. So not particular to this case or any other case, but it is something very personal which the person felt comfortable sharing with the psychologist. That was so then that particular information, which is in no way harmful to the society, to that individual or to anyone, then that can be kept confidential. But most of the times, when we get information, ultimately we will have to submit the report to the court. But what we do is we already inform the client that, when we are even taking them for investigation, we ultimately ask them to sign an informed consent form, which they have to sign. So over there, all these things are mentioned that, what can go against them or what can be for them, how this entire process. So all that is informed to them.
Sure. Yeah, that I think, Sanjana, that would help you to understand how the aspect of confidentiality is maintained with respect to forensic psychology. There's one more question, ma'am, about from Prarthana. She's asking, can you quote a few web series using criminal psychology or forensic psychology?
Okay. Mind Hunters. Mind
Mind
Hunters.
Hun-
There was,
Mind
yeah,
Hunters.
season one, season two. Then, if I'm looking at Indian web series, Sacred Heart. Okay,
Uh-huh.
Sacred Game. Sorry, not Sacred
Sacred.
Heart.
Sacred
Sacred
Games,
Game.
ma'am. I think that's
It
Indian
had
or no?
some
Yeah.
that Indian Saif Ali Khan's.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
I mean, that is, in fact, they had used, some forensic science techniques as well. If you have seen Talwar movie, okay, Talwar movie also had a lot of aspects of forensic sciences, forensic psychology. Um, there are ample of movies. I mean, it really becomes little difficult, but
Sure, sure.
but I
I
mean, even
think,
if you just Google it, I mean, you get a series of movies. In fact, almost all movies have some aspects of forensic psychology. I look at it because there's some amount of aggression or violence, or at least one crime which is shown in the movie. So if you look at it,
yes,
I mean,
ma'am, I think in the group they were in the Mentalist is a series. Can you hear me?
there are many. Yes, yes, I can hear you.
So there's Mentalist, there is Lie to Me. These are also something
Yes,
which are based on. There's also a movie which is You Karke Hai Koi. So I think there are ample, as you're saying, that people need
right.
to.
Ample of movies as such. So
Right.
I mean, if you suddenly ask me, it
Google it.
becomes difficult, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely. Not a problem, not a problem. At least जो आपने
But
बताया उसे
in
शुरू
fact,
कर दो.
one movie I would like to suggest, not one, two movies.
Mhm.
I mean, um, Do Aankhein Bara Haath, okay, which is a very old movie, okay,
Uh-huh.
but it's a very important movie when we talk about criminal rehabilitation. Ultimately, how important rehabilitation is. I mean, it's such a old movie, but even at that time, I mean, they had thought about, how you can actually rehabilitate the offenders and what work can be given to them, because ultimately there is a lot of stigma after they have served their punishment. So they have already served the punishment, but then the
Right.
question is like, what is the work, or what kind of work employment are they going to get
Yes,
after serving their punishment? So in fact,
absolutely.
that's a very, from my perspective, I mean, a highly recommended movie
Yeah.
for,
To watch and
yeah.
understand it.
Yes, yes,
And then there's
yes.
a second movie that you're talking about.
Second movie, I mean, I always show it to my students also, which was 12 Angry Men. Okay.
12 Angry Men.
Again, yes, it's an old movie, but the Hindi version was Ek Ruka Hua Faisla. So, but I mean, I have already always, in fact, told all my students to, I make them watch that movie, because again, it's a very important movie from the point of view if you want to understand, the jury system, as well as how group process, or how our perceptions can uh, make us take certain decisions, how biased can we be. So all these aspects are very nicely put forth in those movies, I mean.
Absolutely. So a highly recommendation of Do Aankhein Gyara Haath, right? If I'm saying it right.
दो आंखें बारह हाथ.
Oh, it's okay. Sorry. Do Aankhein Bara Haath and the
It
movie
was
which is
V. Shantaram's movie. So I mean,
okay.
it's that
That's
movie.
long, long, long time back. Maybe in
Yes.
the
It's
50s, 50s
almost
and
a
60s
black and
movie.
white movie.
50s and
So
60s movie. And the other
yes.
one is about 12 Angry Men. The
It's
English
also
version,
again an old movie.
old movie. Absolutely. Lovely.
Yes.
So, ma'am, what do you think? The next question of mine is that what is a kind of career for a person who is planning to get into forensic psychology, or what kind of career growth they can expect, or how do they proceed if they want to become a forensic psychologist?
Okay. Firstly, like I said, or even in my first question itself, I gave a basic idea about how broad the field of forensic psychology is. Okay.
Hmm.
So ultimately, all of us, or individually, each one of us can identify the passion in which area of forensic psychology are they
Hmm.
really passionate about, and that particular field can be pursued in much detail. Like if we look at overall, the entire field of forensic, we have lot of work even in family court. We have work in NGOs. You have
Right.
work when it comes to, counseling the victims. You have work
Hmm.
in forensic lab. You have work even in juvenile courts. Okay. Apart from that, you have ample of work when it comes to corporate, because corporate crime is again, I mean, there are crimes which happen in corporate sectors. So, there's ample of work over there. Now, again, when we are moving from, if you look at past few months, we have moved from our real world to virtual world almost.
Right.
So all the crimes are happening in the virtual world, but ultimately what we can analyze is the human behavior. So the
Right.
human behavior behind the computer. So again, that can be analyzed. And so if you look at it, there are lots of career prospects and ample of growth. If any individual wants to, pursue their career in the field of forensic psychology, but obviously you need to be very sure of which area of forensic psychology do you actually want to pursue, whether you want to go in a clinical setup, like where you want to use lot of clinical assessments and all, whether you want to work in hospitals, with offenders who might have been, the cases of insanity and all can come into picture, or you want to work in NGOs, you want to work with prisons. So again, I mean, that decision would lie completely with the students, but there's ample of scope, and obviously you can take it to new heights.
Right. So, ma'am, what would be the flow to persuade or get your master's, or what will be the degree that you get for forensic psychology, and where all in India do you think that course is being offered that you are aware about?
Forensic psychology, as such, masters in forensic psychology, I know is offered by Gujarat Forensic Science University.
Yes,
Other
yes.
universities are offering masters in psychology, but there are papers in terms of electives and elective papers and all, where students can pursue forensic psychology. So, I mean, but there are even masters program in criminology and all, which are also taken up by students. So, I mean, that's what I am aware of. There are
Okay.
diploma courses in forensic psychology, but as far as masters,
And
I mean, as far as I know, I could be wrong, but at least as per my knowledge, it's only Gujarat Forensic Science University which offers a master's and even an MPhil program in forensic
forensic
psychology.
psychology. So, ma'am,
Yeah.
any other universities or these diploma courses that you're talking about, the institutions that you can help the students, just obviously they can get it through net also, but अगर आपके ध्यान से कोई हो कि यहाँ पे ये
No, because
डिप्लोमा
I don't have. As far as I know, most of the masters have psychology program where they have, papers in forensic psychology. But I mean, I know of only these few institutes. Like
and
there is,
what
I
about
think, Lok Nayak Institute of Criminology in Delhi.
mm-hmm.
Then Delhi, I don't remember the entire name, but yes, Lok Nayak some institute where they offer masters in criminology. Then we have masters in social work, which is a program offered by TIS, okay, which is
Mm-hmm.
again who is offering a course in criminology. So masters, MSW in, I think, criminal behavior. I don't remember the exact
Oh,
name of the
sure.
degree,
So,
but yes,
so
it is
maybe you
related to
can,
criminal psychology and criminal.
so they can check at TIS basically.
Yes, yes. This is so there are as such many other universities also which are offering, but a full-fledged program, if you ask me, then as
Mm-hmm.
far as I know, it's only GFSU. And even Raksha Shakti University, if I'm not mistaken.
And ma'am,
Even Raksha Shakti,
where is this
it's in,
university based?
I think, Ahmedabad, or
Ahmedabad.
I, I think even they are offering. But I mean, obviously the students will have to check.
Check it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so
Yeah.
much on that knowledge. Ma'am, my next question is, let me first check if we have any questions from our viewers. There is a question from Mani asking that he's doing or he or she is doing BA and help, and she would like to have a help on understanding the important field in psychology which will be in great demand in future. Now that's a very tricky question, Mani.
Yes, exactly. I mean, as such, the field of psychology is a ever developing field. So ultimately, it's your passion, your hard work that is going to, take you anywhere. I mean, you can reach heights. So I don't think there's any specific field as such. I mean, I feel all fields are equally important. They are interlinked also. They are all interlinked to each other. And I mean, it's a very difficult question if you ask me about one particular field, because I feel it's important to have knowledge about all the fields. And in fact, I feel all the fields are equally developing. I mean, I won't say only one particular subfield of psychology is developing and other fields are not developing.
True. So I think one should go as per what one gets drawn to, what is one's passion about, or what one feels more connected to,
Yes,
right? So, ma'am, my next
yes.
question is about in the case where there is no clarity about the crime,
Hmm.
what are the kind of techniques that get used?
Okay. See, in fact, I don't know. When we talk about clarity, okay, what we
Mm.
talk about when the reasons, or when there is no clarity in terms of the means of death, okay, so where we call it as equivocal death, okay, where the reason is not certain. Um, Basically, that's where we use psychological autopsy.
Mm-hmm.
Just a minute.
Sure, sure,
Okay,
sure,
psychological autopsy is what is used. Actually, my back. Just give me 1 second.
sure,
The
sure. Take your
battery
time.
is really low. So,
No problem, ma'am. You take your time and let me just check if there are any other questions that we have. Guys, feel free to ask any questions that you have with respect to forensic psychology, and we will make sure that we get you the answer. Mr. Srikanth, I have not understood your question. Could you please elaborate more on uh, what do you about the e-certificate? I think if you could just frame it a little bit more, then we'll be able to understand and give you an answer on that. And once
okay,
ma'am
yes,
is there,
yeah,
lovely.
yeah, I'm there.
Okay.
It's just that the battery got so low that I had to connect it.
No
That is
problem,
why.
no problem. Absolutely fine,
Yes.
ma'am.
So
Absolutely
sorry, you
fine.
were saying. Yeah.
I
So
was
I was
asking
talking
about
about
when, yeah.
equivocal death. So especially in cases where the reason for death is not clear. Like if we take, there is a recent case which is in lot of media. Okay, whether it's a
Right,
suicide, whether it's a homicide, or whether it's
right,
an accidental death. So
right.
especially in cases when the death is equivocal, we can use psychological autopsy. Psychological autopsy is in fact a very important tool that you know uh, throws light on and can give amazing insights on the victim, or what could be the reasons for the death of the victim. So whether the person was in the state, in that particular state to commit suicide, was
Mhm.
there any particular reasons, whether it could be homicide, or whether it is an accidental case. So not just this case, but in many cases when the mode of death is unclear, we can go for psychological autopsy. Now again, when we talk about psychological autopsy, there are two kinds of psychological autopsies. There are two. One is equivocal death analysis, okay, and
Mhm.
second is suicidal psychological autopsy. So obviously, the suicidal psychological autopsy would be performed when it is clearly a suicide. But when the mode of death is equivocal, we will go for equivocal death psychological autopsy. So I mean, that is again a very important tool which gives us ample of information on the state of the victim before his or her death.
Okay. The state of mind or the state of brain of the victim
Yes, before the death. So that's
before
where
the
we
death.
call it
Yes, yes,
autopsy.
absolutely. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. S- Uh, Very well. So, ma'am, my next question is that how important is the role of a psychologist during any investigation?
Okay, the role, in fact, psychologists play a very important role when we
Hmm.
talk about investigation. Okay, because like I said in the first statement itself, it's ultimately the brain that commits the crime. So in
Right.
every crime that we are talking about, ultimately it's the brain that is, involved in that crime. So when the brain is involved in the crime and the behavior is against law, obviously a psychologist does come into the picture, and a psychologist would play a very important role in the entire investigation process. And the way a psychologist would assess by being non-judgmental. So in fact, when you are
Ma'am,
dealing
ma'am,
with
ma'am,
cases.
ma'am, one request before you go ahead. I'm just stopping you. I'm sorry. Can you just come a little bit in front of the camera because you're going very much
uh,
inside. I'm not able to see you
just
properly.
just a minute, I had to change the entire. So is this fine?
This is good. This is good. Yeah, please continue. Sorry for the
Okay.
interruption.
Yes. So I mean that's what I was saying, that it's ultimately the brain
Mhm.
behind a crime that has to be analyzed, assessed, because that itself will give you insight on why this crime has happened, how it has happened, and what was the motivation. So every crime we talk about, there has to be a motivation.
Yeah.
So I mean, only I feel a psychologist can give amazing insight into it, and I mean they can help in investigation. In fact, not just one or two cases, but in fact in every case, I feel the psychologist should be involved. I don't know why this is happening.
I can.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's
I'm
good. It's
just
good.
that's
Uh,
good.
you have become little. Huh. Good.
Oh,
Good. Good. I think when,
I
ma'am,
don't.
you refer, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's good.
Hmm,
We are clearly able to see you. So I was going to ask you that when you say the brain is involved, so basically you mean the brain. Obviously, there are aspects which is kind of a hardware of your system of your body, and mind which is involved in the behavior that has been committed, which would not be socially acceptable, and
hmm,
that would have led to the crime. So we are talking about the mind, right? At the end of the
hmm.
day,
Right,
right? Okay.
right.
Right, right. Great. So, ma'am, I think we're almost heading to the end of the session, but before we end it, I will just check if we have any questions from people. Yeah, we do have a question. Thank you so much. Monica says that it was a very well explained question, about forensic psychology from ma'am. So there's also a question from Shweta Dongre asking about any college in Mumbai that offers forensic. So Shweta, she's already said TIS is some organization which offers forensic psychology, I suppose, and you can definitely go ahead and check it on the site of TIS. And any other
Right.
colleges, ma'am, you think which offers forensic or criminal psychology?
Like Institute of Forensic Science, but has a course of forensic sciences. So basically, they have a course of BSc and MSc in forensic science. Now, even like MIT University, we have masters in psychology in clinical counseling and industrial. But again, we have a elective subject of forensic psychology. So that's where
Okay.
the forensic psychology is taught to the students.
Absolutely. So I think Shweta, that answers your question. And Shweta has one more question. Do we have to go for an entrance exam if we have to go for pursuing forensic psychology? I think that's what she meant.
So that obviously she'll have to check with all the universities. Every university has their own entrance exams,
Process, yeah,
which would be
process.
put on their website. So that she will have to check over there. So I mean, I won't have information about that. But as far as I know, yes, as colleges do have entrance exams. So you have to ultimately score in those entrance exams to get
Right,
admission into the university.
absolutely. So, ma'am, I think before we wrap up for the day, and my last question would be, मैम आप थोड़ा कैमरा के सामने आ जाएंगे क्योंकि आप वापस साइड में चले गए हो
No, that's what I'm trying to do. But
Just
somehow,
just keep the camera in front of you. I'm sure it's becoming little as in the phone camera if you're using the phone. Yeah, I think
yeah,
this
it's
is also
phone.
good.
Actually, I shifted from the laptop to phone, so that's where it became an.
Good, 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 good. So, what would be your advice to the budding psychologists and the psychology students before we wrap up for the day?
Okay. I feel pursue your passion. I mean, that's the most important advice. When you
Mm-hmm.
pursue your passion, you never know what heights you can reach.
Mm-hmm.
It's your passion, your hard work that can take you um, to a different height altogether. I mean, depending on whichever field you choose, okay? Need not be only forensic. It could be clinical, it could be counseling, it could be social, it could be industrial, it could be school child. And in fact, if we look at forensic, obviously we also look at its application, in fact, in every field as such. But
Right.
I mean, whichever specialization you choose, or even if you do it in general psychology, depends on how much hard work you are ready to put in and how much you are ready to pursue, uh, follow your passion, your dreams, and you can achieve whatever. You can always fly high. I mean, there is no one who can stop you from doing what you want to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that is amazing at, uh, point to be noted, right? And especially coming from a teacher, it really means a lot coming from an educator. So yeah, I think that is it for today. Ma'am, before I wrap up, thank you so much for your immense, wonderful knowledge about briefing us about forensic psychologies and how there is so much of depth and so many different branches into it, and how one can pursue and what all things they can look for if they want to pursue, and the different conceptual understanding with respect to cases, as well as what one can watch during this time of pandemic, where all of us are sitting at home, and we can utilize the time in a more besides watching the television, we can actually make it more resourceful also while watching it, right? So
Yes.
thank you so much.
In fact, I
uh,
enjoy that particular way of learning. So I feel.
yeah, so it keeps you engaged totally with the thing that you're watching, and also you're learning at an conscious unconscious level about the subject. So thank you so much, ma'am, for being there on the Psych Talks with Teachers. And thank you everybody who has been watching us on today's live. Thank you for the question. I hope we have covered all the questions that you guys have asked us. And looking forward to see you all on next Friday with another interesting topic of psychology. We'll keep you posted for what is the next topic. Next Friday, same time at 7:30 on Facebook Live. And yeah, have a lovely weekend, all of you. And I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much, ma'am, as well as all the audience watching us. And
Thank
bye
you so much.
bye. Good evening to all of you.